Um, Last year for me was last year was a year of COVID-19 for so many people.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a year of survival because I experienced something different in my life. It was as if I was attacked physically, health-wise. The burden was so much, and it was as if I was depending. It's not even as if I literally depended on people for so many things. Then at some point, I began to see myself like, will I survive? Will I wake up the next morning? As I'm coming out of a phase, I'm entering into another one, and it was so bad that you could see me in the morning, trying to capture children, and in the night I'm all weak, and sometimes I don't even know what is wrong with me. The peak of it for me was, I think, last year August, and it started January and it lasted till this year January, so more like a year, and it got so bad August, and I remember just shouting from my dream, and the next thing I started feeling like I was going to die. I literally felt it, and I told my husband that I can't place my hand around what is wrong with me, that I need to be at the hospital. And we set out to the hospital. That was past 11. And the plan was, I was supposed to edit a picture and send to the clients before 12. So I just felt, it's just few pictures, about 3 pictures, I will get to do that. As I was editing, I was completely editing in the evening, and my husband was like, why not just close your laptop and get some rest? So I did that, hoping I was just going to sleep for a while, wake up and finish up with the job. So as we were going to the hospital, I saw a call coming in, and I couldn't just pick, because at that point nobody will understand what I was going through. She was expecting pictures. I was battling with my life. I was just, at that point I was hearing different voices in my mind. I lost my mom 2019, she just died. I sometimes when I tell people that, if death could just give you special announcements, maybe we would have pleaded with death, please, to just hold on, because we drank coffee in the morning, and in the night she was gone just like that, and she died in my hands. I remember her just reaching out to my hands, holding my hands, and that was it. She couldn't say anything, and I didn't know, probably that affected me. And it was later on, I had lots of doctors telling me I'm going through depression, I might not know it, but I didn't want to accept it, because sometimes when I just think about the death, the sudden death, the fear comes to my mind that you too can die, I battled with this for so long. And that night when I was being rushed to the hospital, I was hearing different voices. She gave up the ghost in my hands around, I think past 10 or to 11. She died at the school for the nursing junction. So while I was approaching that junction, my husband was driving. Something kept on telling me that you're going to give up at this point, just the way your mom died. It was it was like so many battles were happening, like I was fighting a strong battle in my mind. And I heard another voice telling me that, Tosi, if you keep quiet, you are going to be silenced forever. So you have to open your mouth and start fighting for what you want. Then I started shouting, I would not die. I would not die. I would not die. That was all I was saying. I was just saying it with the whole of my strength till we got to the hospital. As we were approaching the hospital gate, I was just shouting, water, water. You know, it was in the middle of the night. All the shops were closed. Coincidentally, I didn't go with my bottled water because I always go around with water. It was so bad that if I see, you know, any available water, even from gutter, I was going to drink it at that point. You know, I didn't understand where that dehydration came from. It was so strong. So when I got to the hospital, all I was shouting was water, water. And the woman there was like, no, they shouldn't give me water. No, that I should calm down. So like they did all sorts of first aid, and when I was calm, they gave me water. They ran some tests, and by the time the test results came out, you know, everything was fine with me medically. There was nothing wrong with me, but I couldn't just wrap my head around what was happening. So the next morning, I was discharged. I went back home. So then my husband called my aunt, and she came around, you know, called the pastor, and the pastor was like, thank God I did not drink that water. If I had drank water, I would have died. You know, since that time, you know, I battled with, what should I call it? So many things. I couldn't sleep well at night. I'm always scared of night time because I will always wake up from my dream. Sometimes I will feel like someone is trying to strangulate me. So, you know, at some point I couldn't sleep in the house again. I would leave my house and go to someone else's house somewhere in Odaro to sleep. And sometimes I get there, I won't be able to sleep. But you know, I will just be comfortable that at least I'm not in the house. So it got so bad that he had to tell me one day that you can't continue to run away from your home. That you have to face this fear and fight it. So that day, I began to pray, and you know, it was as if I had the boldness to conquer that fear. So I was speaking to the unimaginable thing that was making me run away from my house. And I remember it was on a Friday. I slept like a baby for a long time. And after that episode, you know, it was from one thing or the other. Then at some point I was losing so much weight. I got darker, you know, and sometimes I sweat like a goat. And at some point I started experiencing something really funny, like if I eat this minute, the next minute I'll be at the toilet. Then after I'm through at the toilet, I'll start getting hungry again, like I'll have to eat. Then the process, it was like a circle. So I had to go to the hospital, so they ran some tests. So this time around, they were able to come up with something. That's after so many months of going to the hospital, doing series of tests and not finding anything. Sometimes I'm on admission for days, and when I'm out, sometimes I still try to muster strength to come to the studio. And you know, I couldn't, I knew last year it affected a lot of things about me, my job, you know, so many things. At some point, I wasn't even thinking about the job again. Like, I just wanted to be fine by all means. I bought all sorts of drugs. You know, like, it was so bad that, you know, this Kedi, you shall buy everything. If someone will tell you this is good, you buy it. That is good. And sometimes they don't come cheap. You know, all I wanted was a good health. And having gone through different tests, everything was fine. So I was now wondering what could be wrong. So finally, I think around November, then I started feeling that episode I told you. Then I was told to run some tests, and by the time the result came out, the doctor said I had thyroid. So that was my first time of hearing about thyroid. I started reading about it, started checking Google for symptoms. At some point, the things I was experiencing then it was somewhat related to what Google termed thyroid cancer. Then I had fears all over me, Then at some point I told myself I'm not going to try Google again. That's the fastest way to die. Because everything you read about would
align.
Would align. So then I, from one hospital to the other, then I was referred to an endocrinologist. So when the endocrinologist saw my results, I was like, no, even if your result is saying this, I don't want to agree that you have thyroid. That I think you need to see a psychiatrist. I think you're depressed. That was what he said. But in my mind, like, psychiatrist, like, no, that why would I see a psychiatrist? I'm not mad, and I didn't want to come to the times that depression can be that serious. I said it's more of anxiety. I saw like another specialist. She said the same thing. And even if your test is saying this, you don't have a physical presentation of the thyroid patient. I was checking Google, like the symptom, like it was far from me that even if your test is saying this, you are not physically looking like this. So at some point, one of the doctors I saw, and that inspired that artwork my son drew.
Okay.
Yeah, I titled it First Aid. And there was a time I went to see him, and he was like, oh no, you have to come back for a repeat test in the next 6 months. And I think I shared it with him that if this result is coming out this way, you have to think of traveling abroad. That moment I was like, God, so my case has gotten so bad that it is abroad that I have to, the whole of Nigeria, they can't handle my situation. So, at that point, it made me realize that even if you're dying, even if it's something really terminal, love is the first aid any man needs. And I was supposed to go for a test, right? And till date, I didn't go for that test. And
that's what company has told me. I said, I'm done with that.
yes, she's a doctor, because it was overwhelming for me. And after that, I did like 2 different tests to confirm.
After that, we're not talking so much. I used to go.
Yes.
Before then, she would call and say, I want to go and do this. I would say, calm down. I spoke to my boss who said he's not going to see her. She wanted another option. And for thyroid, apart from people she saw, the eventual peak of the treatment is surgery. And the man said he's not going to see her. And she should stop all medication, stop all tests, stop everything. After 3 months, or at least 2 months, that's when they see her. And she shouldn't take a stitch of drugs unless she's taking Pico or paracetamol. And then I came back and said, this is what he said. The man said if he sees her now, he will be diagnosed. That he thinks that there's a misdiagnosis somewhere. Too many doctors, too many information. So we were waiting for that period. So we got to like 6 weeks or 7 weeks, and she called me. I was going to go and leave for a course preparation for my exam. I said, no, I can't be there. She was like, I want to be there with you. Okay, I will come back in 2 weeks. Maybe we'll go together when I'm done from my leave. So before that 2 weeks, she just woke up with me and called me. I'm done with that service.
Wow.
And that was it. Okay, I'm done with those issues. I'm fine. I didn't even think I have all these things that and for me then, I always would listen and say, okay, sometimes my kids I agreed with her for not really agreed to be, but then I realized that the point where she was going to be precarious for me to argue with her. There was when she woke up and said, oh, it's spiritual, I want to go for Samilata or whatever. I said, yes, you can go, but the branch and see my doctor friend. Then my doctor friend did this, and you can go and do the actual one. So that day when she woke up and she called me, in my mind I was like, this might not be it, but this definitely is part of it. So I was not even sure she would not go back and say, oh, I'm sick. But for me, that was just like it was like she had one epiphany. And that was what she always needed. Do you understand? Because it was terrible for her. She cannot describe it. It was terrible. Sometimes for that other lady, I didn't get her story. When you have something that everybody can see, everybody can associate with whatever your problem is, it's better. For her, it was like a handicap because there was nothing anybody could see. Then she now got a medical diagnosis that was not timed. Do you understand? Then it now became very confusing. So when she said at the beginning that she felt like a body, she really did. Because you don't know what is wrong with you. Nobody knows what is wrong with you. The people that are feeling sorry for you eventually will not become tired of you. The people that are tired of you eventually will not feel sorry for you. People that are neutral about you eventually will not become emotional towards you. People that are emotional towards you will not become empathetic towards you. So everybody was just like this confusing thing around her. So hers was more than depression, it was more like an unknown thing. And then she had to battle through the darkness, come out of the darkness, and then now face the depression. Like if she had to just deal with depression, like, oh, I'm depressed, and then deal with it, I think it would have been easier for her because it was almost, actually I think that it was from her mom's death. But then for me, from when I spoke with her, I felt like she was in denial for so long. And then it now became physical. Then when it became physical, before she could now relate it with the emotional, she had to do another 1 year of grappling with the dark and everything. And then there was a time she was tired of herself. There was a time she was tired of this beautiful place. There was a time she was tired of this beautiful city. There was a time she was tired of this beautiful state. So you have to see the stages she went through. She said, I don't want to be in this state. And for me, I felt like even if we move to Lagos, when we get to Lagos, after 3 months, we say, I think I want to go abroad. Because what she wanted was inside me now to discover. She was very close to her mom. I never met her mom. But I think the closest to her mom was just something that was too much. And then she did not have time to confront her mom with that. So she suppressed and everything at work. And eventually she just ignored it. Then now came with plenty medical diagnosis, thyroid, I think that's for her. But her journey was scary for me. At a point I had to like take a step back because I felt like it's me. I'm someone I'm loyal to people, so I felt like this could be me. So somebody could die and then it could affect me this way. I didn't think it would because I'm different, my makeup is different. But I felt like it's still the way I feel like, okay, I'm someone that I know how to compartmentalize. I'm good at compartmentalizing. I might not have a depression story. I'm sorry, I might not have a sad story. That's not because I don't have it, but that's because I know how to compartmentalize. I just move. I'm that kind of person that the sadness it's fleeting, then I bring up a solution, I get a distraction. So I might not be that kind of person that I don't sit and dwell on things. But then I realized that in as much as I was always felt like I could always handle my own things, like, this could be me. And then it was scary. It was like looking at the mirror, like it could be anybody. And then the most scary aspect was that we do not have good mental health care in Nigeria. Because this is something that we are happening in a better climate. From when her mom died, she would have been profound. Do you understand? The support would have been there. But then mom just died. She had to be strong for people. She had to cook for people. The Nigerian whatever, I'm sure you did that. She had to entertain people. You understand? She had people come to see you that your mom died and you're the one now entertaining them and cooking for them, and then they will not say Bella. Nobody will even say how are you. A lot of time when I ask people how are you, they message me back privately and they start chatting. That's question, how are you? Nigerians will never get how powerful it is. I don't think anybody asked her how she was when her mom died. I don't think anybody asked her how she was 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year after, or even when she became unwell. I don't think anybody really asked her, oh, kill on she had gone. Which is not the same thing as how are you.
That's true.
Understand? And then it just, I think, just makes it scary because as big as hers was, it only became big because of the deficit in our environment. It was something small. You understand? Like somebody close to you, her mother was an apple. Like she literally became the giant she is because of her mom. You know when they say the person that bends to make you, the person that lay flat to make you, the person that twisted to make you, the mother did everything to make her. As in, not like maybe coming and saying, come and do like this, but like, what do you want to do? You have little children, you need to go here. Don't worry, go. You want to do this, your kids might be an hindrance, I've got you, go. You want to do that, or the mother basically made sure and then suddenly that person is just gone. You'll now wake up and realize that life as I know it is not life. So it's like she had to start living again, and then nobody recognized it. But that statement of, I think I'm done with hospitals, just, and the doctor, there was like, hallelujah something.
No.
It was it.
No, thank you so much, Ma. Thank you.
So, after I said I was done with the hospital, not like I don't still feel some of the symptoms, Sometimes I have this burning sensation, numbness. But I just conditioned my mind that, this thing would die a natural death. And I think the last time I treated malaria was March until recently. But unlike before, any little thing, I'm off to the hospital. And the worst thing, this thing happens usually at night. And my husband got so tired at some point, because when I get to the hospital, they won't say anything, I'll just be on admission. It was as if there was a magnet at the hospital that was, the money I spent buying drugs, hospital, I would have used it for something really good. So this year I told myself, if I like anything, I'm buying it. I'm indulging myself.
Exactly.
And that season, like anything, make myself happy. I want to tint my hair, I will do it. I want to travel to Paris, which I know I will. I will, because the truth is, fine. Sometimes, okay, like talking about the actor thing. I don't know what it's called in English or in
But I hear it a lot. Almost 10 years I've been hearing it.
Every day, yeah, me too. It was at that phase of saying, okay, I'm done with hospital, and that came, that surfaced. And, I was working like in a very funny way. I thought it was boil, and all of a sudden I couldn't walk very well. I couldn't even go to church, because it was embarrassing. And I told my husband to get antibiotics because I was already tired of going to the hospital. I can prescribe drugs for you now, I'm not even. I have a mini pharmacy. Oh, sorry, I had a mini pharmacy.
You prescribed once?
Yes, I prescribed for a client that came around.
Yeah.
Funny enough, we met at the hospital, and I saw her neck accessories, and that endeared me to her because my younger sister needs nice accessories. So I wasn't even advertising my photography because I was done with it then, and fine, I'm not as active as I was before.
Publicly announced she was done with photography.
Yes, I think I saw the post. I saw the status that I was wearing that. Why?
Yeah, so I didn't even tell her I'm a photographer. I just advertised my sister's business, and she was like, okay, that she's not giving me a number, I should drop mine. So it was later on that I realized that we were in the hospital for the same condition. But unknown to both of us until weeks later. So 2 weeks after that meeting, she called. I saw a strange number call, and I said she's in my studio. It was on a Saturday, so I had to rush down to meet her. And I was like, how are you? Somebody gave her that. Eventually she realized that it was me. Then she said, okay, she'll have to come. Then I just saw her that all true. She was just holding my head. So I was like, ma, please, are you okay? And she said, yes. And no. She said she has tension headache. And then, so I was battling with tension headache. I told you it was from one thing or the other. And all the drugs they gave me at the hospital didn't work for me. Then, the hospital we met, didn't work until I called someone and she prescribed. I went to the hospital and she prescribed some drugs for me, which eventually worked. I remember that day. So, when I told her that use this and this, I won't mention the drug, use this and this, and the next day she called me to thank me that, oh, this worked, that thank you so much. So it was later on she opened up to me that she just moved to Akure from Abuja, that she's just out of an abusive marriage. And I now realized why she was trying to hold back. You know, she doesn't want to get close to people, you know, it's a new environment. And thereafter, I think she called me like one or twice, like asking me where she can get one or two things in Akure. So we've not really met since that last time, but at least we've spoken on phone. So, you know, but I was happy that I was able to. That's why sometimes, let me use that experience. I could prescribe to her the drugs to use because I've gone through it and I'm out of it, and I could tell her what I used that worked for me. If I had kept quiet, she would have continued with what she was using, what they prescribed for both of us, and that might work for another person, but it might not work for another person. So sometimes your stories, your pains, your struggles might be a relief to someone else, like a medication, like a prescription. So you don't know what you're doing when you're holding, you know, bottling your stories. It will just die with you forever. But your story can be a source of encouragement, a source of hope, a source of help to another person. So, you know, by and large, coming back to the Atta story, then that night I said, okay, that it's been a while I prayed in the midnight. So I prayed, and going back to sleep, I had a dream. And in my dream, my mom appears to me a lot. And you know, but she didn't come in front of my mom. I didn't know if it's my mom or not. But an old woman this time around appeared to me, not my mom. Because there was one time when I told you I was struggling with some of the things. I don't know if it's physical, if people would believe in how would I put it? You know, when they say it in Yoruba that when your mother dies, or when somebody dies and the person dies before our time, that the spirit will still be roving and all that. But you know, as a Christian, we don't believe in that. So at some point, I was not in between, like, which should I believe, which should I not believe? Because you know, there are times, I won't go into details, that she has appeared to us and she will tell us, okay, let me share you one of it. There was a time my mom didn't appear to any one of us. She appeared to my younger sister's best friend. She works in First Bank. And my mom told her in the dream, Ayomide, Shoshini accounting, yes. Okay, if I go back, okay, to buy the check, my buying check. She narrated everything like we were having a conversation in the dream. My sisters, this is not fabu. This is not. The next day, getting to work,